What's going on, guys? It's Tron Ninja here, coming at you a video with the import-export / CEO crates and hanger guide on is it worth it in 2023. Quickly before we get into the video, if you could give me a like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and remember to check the top right corner of the screen so you don't miss out on past videos and future videos, that would be greatly appreciated. Also, I'm going to be setting the criteria, so yes, you heard that right. This entire video is going to be sharing all three of these businesses inside one video because I felt they were generally the same. First, import-export, then CEO crates, and then we'll move into hanger at the very end of the video. All charts and everything involved with a specific business will be in its own section, including Rockstar editor clips, source missions, sell missions, and details about the business. Without further ado, let's get into the guides. Quickly before the explanations, I'm also going to go over all the recommended vehicles for all three of these businesses in one go, so then you have an idea of what will be actually useful and helpful during these businesses. Also, one more thing before we get started. All business activities in all three of these businesses can be completed in invite-only session, crew closed sessions, friend closed sessions, invite-only sessions, and public sessions. And one more thing, two of these businesses, import-export and hanger, cannot be rated. The only one that can be rated is CEO crates, but I was not able to get the raid missions. And generally speaking, if you get a full warehouse, you shouldn't be holding on to it immediately. That's really the only way I found I ever got rated, is if I'm holding a lot of crates in a warehouse and I'm not selling it. So as long as you're actively doing it all the time, very rarely will you ever get rated. The first and exclusive only item for import-export is the cargo bob. This one greatly helps you complete the source missions much quicker so you can deliver them to your warehouse. The second recommendation is the terabyte. This one allows you to start all source missions and supply missions of your businesses from one singular location. It's extremely useful for import-export and CEO crates. The third recommendation is the Oppressor Mark II to help you get across the map quicker. And along with that is the Oppressor Mark I for the same exact reason, except this one doesn't have a cooldown in between it. You can use both of these bikes for source missions and it gets it a lot done quicker. The next recommendation is the Master Control Terminal, mainly because it's just like the terabyte. You can start all source missions, supply missions, and start sell missions from here. It's extremely useful for all businesses, so highly recommend getting this one. The next recommendation is the Armored Kuruma. This one's pretty self-explanatory because it helps you with missions. It also helps you not die in missions. It also helps you deal with tons of areas of enemies. And it also helps you deal with raid missions along with a lot of these businesses as well. So, highly recommend getting this car. These next three vehicles are hanger-specific recommended vehicles. The first one we have the Hydra. This one's self-explanatory for hanger because you're going to need at least one weaponized aircraft to deal with a lot of the dogfighting situations in hanger source missions. If I had to recommend one, this is definitely the best one for your buck. The next one is going to be the CEO Buzzard. You have to actually purchase a Pegasus Buzzard in order to spawn the CEO Buzzard for free. But if you don't have one, you have to pay $12,000 to be able to spawn one. And it's very useful because it'll spawn right next to you. And if your vehicle gets destroyed, like a personal vehicle or something, and you need to get across the map, or you need to deliver crates or whatever else you need to do, this one's extremely useful. And then the third and final recommendation of this video is the thruster. You're going to need to be able to purchase a facility to be able to buy this and then customize it. I believe it costs around $2 to $3 million, and it is a personal vehicle that you can spawn with the mechanic. It's very useful again because it's just like the CEO Buzzard. It can get you across the map very quickly, but this one you can fit in pretty much any place and land anywhere you want, so it's very useful for crates and hanger in general. First things first, the first business that we're going to cover is the import-export business. The first thing you're going to need to do is go to Dynasty 8 Executive website on your phone and purchase the Maze Bank West office, the cheapest one, for $1 million exactly. And then you're going to need to go into your office. You'll have a little cutscene with your assistant. She'll tell you where your laptop is. You head over to the laptop, and then you go to the vehicle warehouse section or the car section. I recommend the La Mesa vehicle warehouse because it is the cheapest one at $1.1 million. And as I'm about to explain right now, there are no upgrades with this business. Everything that's optional beyond this point is just cosmetic, so there's really no point in you spending the extra money for the cosmetics inside the warehouse. So just buy it for 1.1, and then we can start looking at the source missions. All cars you steal in import-export source missions are completely free despite the repair cost. The repair cost is when you damage the vehicle too much, and you have to pay the fee at the bottom right of the screen during the source mission. If you damage it too much, you'll lose too much money during the sale, so keep this in mind, but don't worry, I'll soon teach you a way how to prevent damaging the cars in most of these missions very shortly. Also, keep in mind that you can only get one source vehicle from these import-export source missions, even though you might have multiple players inside your CEO. So keep this in mind, you can only get one car per source regardless of how many players you have inside your organization. One quick tip I will give you though is that if you want to be able to get top range cars only, which I will be only showcasing during selling, there's one simple trick. Just simply fill up your warehouse with 10 standard and 10 mid-range cars, so then that way you can get top range cars all the time. The general rule though is once you get a top range car, sell it, don't keep it. That way you can indefinitely get top range cars after that point. So the first 20 missions will be you trying to get the 10 medium and 10 standard range cars, so then you can always get top range from then on. And now quickly we're going to head into the quick amount of source missions that I was able to record. All of these are fairly simple, and the police chase one I will actually teach you a way on how to completely avoid damaging that one, because a lot of people seem to have a problem with that one. And if you own a cargo bob and you're actually pretty good at flying it, a lot of these missions will be even easier, because if you're skilled with the cargo bob, you'll be able to pick up the car without even having to get out of it. Sometimes you'll be even able to pick up the car with the driver still inside of it and not risk damaging it at all. In this first source mission, you're going to be towing a blue car back to the car that you're trying to steal with a cargo bob. Once you get inside the cargo bob, you're going to have to tail the car all the way back to the point. I recommend spooking the driver inside of the car by getting super close to it with your cargo bob, so then that way you don't have to wait the entire time for him to get back to the car, and then just follow him while he races back to the point. Once he gets to the point, you're going to want to land your cargo bob decently far away, get some type of homing missile type vehicle, and destroy all the enemies. Now you may be asking, but isn't the car right next to the enemies? Yes, but I'm about to actually teach you a very useful trick with all import-export missions. As long as you do not actually get too close to the car and use an homing missile type vehicle like the Sparrow from Cayo Perico and destroy all the guards and enemies next to the car, as long as you do not get close to the car is temporarily invincible and cannot take damage. As you can see at the bottom right, I shot all those missiles near those enemies and this car didn't take a cent of damage. This is a very useful tip if you're trying to clear out an area with enemies. This next mission is just a generic guarded house mission with enemies next to the car. You're just going to have to simply go to the point and just destroy the enemies with the same trick that I showed you in the last source mission. Do note that the assistant will not actually tell you that there are enemies there until the last minute. So if you're unsure if there are enemies next to the car when you go to grab it, make sure you grab a homing missile vehicle and go over there with the homing on. If it locks on to literally anything while orbiting the entire area, then there's enemies. Then just bring it back to the point. This next source mission is by far the easiest in the import-export business, the car bomb source mission. You'll notice that in a lot of these car bomb ones that the cars are going to be placed in obscure areas that you can't pick up the cargo bomb in. Sometimes you will get that odd one that spawns in an open area. You can just pick it up and take it back to the warehouse without having to wait to turn off the bomb. But if you don't, like I do in this gameplay, you'll have to stay at top speed while trying to wait for the bomb to disarm. And then once it disarms, you can just bring it back to the warehouse. This next source mission is a DUI pullover by the cops. You're simply just going to have to go over to the point. You'll notice that there's a guy pulled over by a bunch of cops. Again, park the cargo bob super nearby. Use a Sparrow or whatever homing missile vehicle you have to kill all the enemies nearby. And then just call Lester to get rid of your wanted level. And then pick up the car and bring it back to the warehouse. Very easy. This next source mission is similar to the last few ones. You just simply go to a singular point where they're making a photo shoot out of the car that you're trying to steal. You just use a homing missile vehicle to clear out all the enemies with your cargo bob parked nearby, and then once all the enemies are cleared out, you just simply pick it back up. One thing to keep in mind with this one though is that you're going to want to pick up the car and then go decently high in the air, because this one will have helicopters chasing after you, so keep that in mind. The next source mission is the cargo bob source mission, where you have to grab a cargo bob and go out to sea and pick up your car. This one I would greatly avoid, so just do what I do in the gameplay here and just simply swap sessions with inside your pause menu, so then you don't have to actually do this one, and then you can just start another one. The police chase source mission, the one that everybody hates. This one's actually a lot simpler. You simply just go to a high point within the map. You want to locate the actual car that you're trying to steal with the cops next to it and snipe the driver out. Then you're going to want to destroy all the police next to the car, and then you're just going to want to call off your one level and go pick it up. It's literally that easy. You don't have to risk damaging it at all, because as I said before at the first source mission, as long as you're not close, the car will never get damaged. Now we're going to be quickly going over the only sell mission that's worth it, the specialist dealer for a top range car. You'll have to pay $20,000 to be able to complete this, and then you're going to have to just simply deliver it to the point. Keep in mind that you will have 4 waves of 2 cars of enemies coming at you, but if you simply destroy them, you should be fine after that, if you're not in a public session. Now we're going to be going over the expenses and the sell charts for import-export. First things first, the expenses. You're going to have to pay $1.1 million for the La Mesa warehouse, and then you're going to have to pay $1 million for the office. So that's $2.1 million as your highest expense for this business. And depending on the amount of players you have, because once again, this is one of those player dependent ones. If you have 4 players, you'll be able to sell 4 cars and profit around $320,000, but you'll get an overall amount of $400,000, but you'll have to pay $80,000 to be able to customize all the cars. And for solo, for 1 car, that's $100,000. You'll get $80,000 profit, and you'll be forced to pay $20,000 for that singular car's customization. So for solo, You're going to need to complete over 20 sell missions to break even for the expenses, and only 5 source missions for 4 cars with 4 players to be able to break even with the same 2 million. So keep this in mind. It's actually a very fast business to break even on, providing of course you didn't add customizations to the warehouse and the office and many other things involved with it. But generally, you should be able to break even with this business fairly fast. Another thing that I didn't go over was the fact that this business also was added with the 2% bonus in the Drug Wars update. As you saw with the last sell mission, I got $35,000 extra on top of my car sale. So if you actually do this in a populated session with 4 players and 4 cars, you'll actually get a decent amount of money. So definitely do this business in public sessions, especially because this is accessed to the CEO menu with Ghost Organization. So I can't really recommend this more than I can right now. Definitely do this business in public sessions, because now that it has 2% on top of each player in your session when you're making the sales, it's even more worth it now. It didn't have it before, and now that it does have it, it even makes it more worth it to do. So, highly recommend this for public sessions. With that being said, now that we're wrapping up import-export, I think it's time we transition into CEO crates next. Now on to CEO crates. Same thing as import-export. The first thing you're going to need to do is go to Dynasty 8 Executive and purchase the $1 million Maze Bank office to be able to get started. Then you're going to need to go to that same terminal that you started import-export on, and then go over to the cargo section, so then you can start buying warehouses. I recommend buying the large warehouses because you can then sell or source as much as you want, and then sell at any time you want. And generally, putting limitations on yourself with the medium and small warehouses are just simply not worth it. So if you're going to invest money into the warehouses, just buy at least one large warehouse. And if you want to buy the extra 4 later on, you can definitely do so. Now we're going to be quickly going over the expenses for one singular warehouse all the way up to 5. I was not able to actually get the exact amount of prices for all the warehouses because Rockstar's game is bugged, so I cannot actually access the prices. But what I can tell you is that the prices are in between $2 to $3 million each for all of the large warehouses, and you can only buy 5, by the way. So keep this in mind. I only recommend you buying 1 at the start. See if you like it. If you like it, purchase more. That's basically the synopsis. The minimum if you buy 5 warehouses, depending on price once again, is 10 million, and the maximum amount you can spend on 5 large warehouses is 15 million on top of the 1 million for the office. So keep this in mind. It's very expensive, so the more you spend, the more you're going to have to do these sell missions for these warehouses, so keep this in mind. When you go to source crates for your warehouse, you'll have 3 different options to source from, either your arcade's master control terminal, your terabyte, or your office. I recommend either your terabyte or your office, or if you spawn at your arcade, sometimes you can use your terminal. And then it's going to cost from $2,000 for 1 crate all the way up to $18,000 for 3 crates. Later on, I'm going to be explaining that 3 crates is best. So if you're wondering which version you should go with, it's definitely 3 crates. It saves you the most amount of time. So don't worry about actually spending money. I'll be explaining how much money you actually spend. So don't worry about that. And one final thing before we go into the source missions, I do just want to say that if it says a van during the mission title, it means that all the crates are in a singular van, and then you can just bring it back to the warehouse. If it says anything to do with drop, it means that each crate will be its own specific drop. And no, you cannot pick up all the crates at once. You can only pick up 1 crate at a time if you're solo, so keep this in mind. Do not source this if you're alone in a public session, because you risk your money that you actually paid for these crates to get blown up by some random asshole griefer. So definitely do not do this business solo if you're planning on doing this in a public session, so then that way you have more people to protect your stuff. There was one source mission that I was not able to get from Lupe during the Criminal Enterprise DLC, one of the 2 new missions added to this business. It's not the auto shop one, it's the one where you have to go underwater. If you get this one and it tells you to go to Hookies or Mirror Park or anything like that, I recommend you actually close app and do not actually engage with this business mission at all, because it'll simply waste too much time and it's simply too hard as well. Trust me, you'll thank me later for not wanting to do it if you know what I'm talking about. So if you get that one, avoid it. The first source mission is going to be the auto shop source mission from Lupe. You'll get a call from Lupe telling you have to go to a specific auto shop around the map, and then you're going to have to steal a van with your cargo inside of it. When you get there, you're going to have to kill all the enemies in front of the auto shop, and then when you get inside, you're going to want to clear out all the enemies within it, and then you're going to be looking for a tiny little key box on the wall so then you can access the van. It'll be like a tiny little box with keys in it. Then you just go up to it, press right on the D-pad, and then you head over to the van, and then you do the prompts, and then you get in the van and bring it back to the warehouse. This next source mission is going to be the 3 helicopter, 3 drop crate mission. This one is basically going to require you to go to a specific point, and then you're going to see a bunch of surprise helicopters spawn on your radar. Each one of them is carrying a specific amount of crates. If you only spawned 1 crate, only 1 helicopter will spawn. If you spawn 3 crates, it's going to have 3 helicopters. Then you just simply blow them up, let the crates fall to the ground, and then bring them back to the warehouse. The next source mission is going to be the police van source mission. You're going to be required to go to a point, and then your assistant is going to be warning you that the cops have confiscated your crates inside of a police van. Then you're going to have to basically just steal the van from the cops. If you actually have an FMJ rifle, as I do in the gameplay, you'll be able to pierce the armored windows and then kill the occupants inside and drive it back to the warehouse. The next one is going to be the gang ambush van mission. This one is going to require you to go to a specific point and try to steal a van. Do note that if you see cars or trucks suspiciously parked around the area, as you're going to see in the gameplay, these big remover trucks are here. You're going to just simply want to place sticky bombs right behind them where the enemies can't see them, and then once all your bombs are placed, you're going to want to blow them up because those trucks block you off if you get in the cargo van. And then you're going to want to kill all the enemies surrounding the vehicle that has your cargo, and then just bring it back to the warehouse. The next source mission is the Valkyrie 3-drop mission. This one's going to have 3 guys inside of a Valkyrie carrying your cargo each, just like the last helicopter one. Do be aware when you get too close to the Valkyrie, it'll be able to use its weapons on you. So if you're using a homing missile vehicle, watch out for this, because the miniguns will be able to laser you, and if you get in front of the aircraft, it will be able to use that explosive cannon. Then you're just going to want to pick up all the individual crates and bring it back to your warehouse. The next source mission is a very simple one. It's just the parked van source mission, where a generic van with your product in it is going to be parked at a random spot in the map. Then you just go over to it and then just get inside the van. Sometimes there will be enemies that chase after you, but generally, most of the time, for me at least, I don't get enemies chasing after me. And even if I do, I just simply ignore them if I get a van like this that has no windows in the back. If you do get one with windows in the back, just destroy all the enemies and then take it back. This next source mission is the 3-3 cargo mission. This one basically is where you get 3 thieves that are stealing your cargo or less. If you only bought 1 crate, there's only going to be 1 thief spawning. If there's going to be 3 crates, there's going to be 3 thieves spawning with your cargo, each of them. And then you're going to want to destroy all 3 and bring it back to the warehouse. Very simple. This next source mission is the easiest in this business, the Spooked Seller source mission. Basically, this one is just like the last parked van one, but this one has no enemies. You're going to be forced to drive to a point, and then your assistant's going to tell you that they had to give your van to another location because the seller was spooked, and then you just drive it back to the warehouse. No enemies, no opposition, nothing. You just bring it back to the warehouse. Very simple. The next source mission is a gang-guarded van location. Basically, you're just going to have to go to a spot on the map, and then you're going to reach the van, and there's going to be a bunch of gang members surrounding your van with your cargo in it. Then you're just going to simply want to kill all the enemies, and then take the van back to the warehouse. The next source mission is the gang shootout mission. This one is a very unique source mission where you're going to reach the point with your cargo inside of a van, and then you're going to see 2 different gang factions in front of your van. If you don't actually shoot at them and just let them kill each other, one side will win, and then you just kill all the remaining survivors. If you do this, no enemies will chase you from this point onward. The next source mission is the Vantage Point source mission, where the seller messes with you and your assistant. You're going to have to kill specific targets with a sniper rifle, and then once you have done and fulfilled the task that your seller wants you to do, they'll tell you the location of the cargo, and then you just bring it back to the warehouse. This next source mission is going to be the third-party van mission. This one basically is going to have a third party trying to steal your cargo, and you're going to have to go to a specific point. Do note that it'll tell you to go to an original point first, and then it'll tell you about the third-party van being stolen. Then once you steal back the van by killing the driver, you just take it back to the warehouse. This next one is the Crime Scene 3 drop mission, where you're going to have to go to a specific point and search around for your cargo. It'll look like a big bright box with an arrow on top of it, and you'll have an injured enemy with a pistol lying on the ground next to it as well. The fastest way to find the crate is just simply have a homing missile vehicle like the Oppressor Mark II, and simply lock on to the alive guards bleeding on the ground, because those guys are always next to the cargo, and then you just pick up the crates. Very simple, very straightforward. And eventually, the assistant will tell you the location of all the other crates eventually. This next one is very similar to the gang ambush, except this time it's police. It's basically the same thing. You're just going to be looking for ghost cars and grangers, basically parked near the nearby area where your cargo is, put sticky bombs next to them, and then when you're ready to pick up the cargo, you just go inside and blow up the crates. If you get the Rumpo custom van with your cargo in it right here, you technically don't even need to put the sticky bombs down, because the windows on this van are bulletproof, but if you do, it'll have less enemies chasing after you. This next one is the Drop Zone 3 drop mission. Basically, you're going to have to go to a point, drop a bunch of flares, and wait for a plane to drop your cargo, and then just simply bring all 3 crates back to your warehouse. This one is very, very simple. Now we're going to be quickly going over the cell missions. First one is the mixed goods cell mission. Basically, this one you have to access by going to your assistant inside your office, and then one of your random warehouses will have collected mixed goods. Then you'll have to go to this truck. It'll always be the same, and then you'll have to deliver it always to the same spot within the map. Once you deliver it, you'll get $50,000, and I believe this one completes every 48 minutes or 2 in-game days. So this one you can complete quite a bit, and this one can actually help pay for your crates. So definitely do this one. Now we're on to the actual cell missions of the warehouses. The first one is the low altitude plane mission. First things first with all these plane cell missions is that you gotta remember that there is a glitch in this game called the Titan glitch. Basically, this one prevents you from actually being able to drop up your cargo at some of these cell points that you can see in this mission. If this happens, you have no choice but to completely close your app or change lobbies in the pause menu, because you will not be able to complete the cell mission because it will prevent you from completing the drops. If this happens, you must do this, otherwise you will lose everything if you waste all your time trying to get it to work. So don't even try to get it to work. This is one of the rare few ones that I believe the Titan glitch cannot happen on, but all the ones with like 15 drops can. Now we're on to one of the 2 truck cell missions that I was able to get. This one is a 2 drop up, single drop truck mission. Basically, you just bring one truck to a drop, and then you bring the other truck to the drop. If you get a full warehouse, you will have to bring 3 trucks. I only had a very minimalistic filled warehouse, so I only got 1 to 2 trucks most of the time. This one's very simple. It's just bring one truck to the drop, and then bring the truck to the other drop. Very simple. And now we're on to the tugboat mission version 1. This one basically will have you go to a specific dock with your tugboat, and this one is going to either have enemies on top of the dock, or there's going to be no enemies. This is version 1, where the enemies are at the docks near your tugboat, and you're going to have to kill all of them. Once you kill all the enemies, you just have to simply bring it to the drop at sea, and there'll be no enemies chasing after you. Very simple. This truck sell mission is basically the same exact thing as the last one, but this time when you deliver both trucks to the drops next to each other, you're going to have a wave of enemies trying to come after you. Basically, you're going to want to kill all the enemies once you get both trucks there, and then the mission ends. Keep in mind also, if this is a large warehouse, you'll have to bring 3 trucks, not just 2 or 1. This next cell mission is going to be Tugboat version 2. Basically, this mission is going to be the same one as the last one, but there's going to be no enemies near the docks, near your boat. Then you just simply bring it to the point. There will be enemies, however, that chase after you, and the last one will be a helicopter, so keep that in mind. And finally, the last cell mission that I was able to get is the plain single drop ambush mission. Not all of the missions I was able to get for both source and cells. This one basically consists of you having to get in a Cuban 800 or a Titan, depending on how full your warehouse is. If it's full, it'll be a Titan. If it's not full or a small warehouse, it'll be a Cuban 800. You'll have to go over to this drop, land the plane near Sandy Shores Airfield or somewhere flat, grab a Savage or some type of homing missile vehicle to kill all the enemies, and then go back to the plane and land it in that exact spot. Once that happens, the mission will end and you will get your money. The last thing I want to talk about is the warehouse workers. You'll have to go over to each one inside your warehouse and purchase them for $5,000. And then depending on random choice, it'll give you either 1 single crate, 3 crates, and sometimes even a special crate. The reason why this feature is extremely useful is because you can actually have workers sourcing crates for you while you're doing other businesses, doing that business, or whatever else you want to be playing. So you can actually turn CEO crates into somewhat of an actual passive business. So I highly recommend using this feature because it helps fill up your large warehouses, especially if you have 5 like me, extremely quickly. So yes, definitely use this feature. It helps filling your warehouses very fast. Now we're going to be going over the value charts and how much money you can make with a small and large sale on a large warehouse. First things first, the 3 crates that you will get from a 3 crate mission will be valued at $36,000, and you'll make a small sale worth of $240,000, and your large sale will be $2.22 million, and you'll need around $15,540,000 if you bought the maximum expensive amount of large warehouses at the beginning of the expense chart. Special crates will be valued at $95,000 or $150,000 depending on the item and the circumstances and how much you actually paid for it. Sometimes you can pay for like $20,000 for some special crates, others $30,000. The more you pay, the more you're getting for the item, so just keep that in mind. You're going to be spending over $666,000 for all the 3 crate missions. That'll be 37 missions in total, and you'll need about 6 hours game time with no VIP work interruptions, no other business interruptions, nothing. That only includes doing the missions for this business. You'll get 6 hours. So keep in mind, that's 6 hours per warehouse. That's not just for all 5 of them, that's all for one warehouse. So if you're going to be buying 5 large warehouses, you need 6 hours of real life game time to be able to fill a large warehouse out of the 5. It takes a very long time. And the amount of sell missions you're going to need to break even, depending on how many large warehouses you bought, once again, this will determine that factor. It will be from 1 to 8 sell missions. That is a lot. So this one is definitely the business that demands the most out of your time. So don't think for an actual second that you're going to complete this all within a day. Unless if you bought one warehouse, maybe. But I wouldn't get your hopes up. And now finally we're going to move on to the hangar. The first things first you're going to need to do is go over to Maze Bank Foreclosure's website, and you're going to see that there's going to be 2 hangars at the LSIA airport and 3 hangars at the Fort Zancudo Air Base. I'm going to be generally showing on chart, as you're going to see on screen right now, the expenses for the hangar at the base and the airport. So generally, I'm going to be showing the most expensive hangar at the base, at the very top, and the least expensive hangar at the airport, so that you can get a grasp and an idea of what you can maximum pay for and what you can minimum pay for with all upgrades. The initial expense is very expensive compared to the airport at the very top left, and then at the very far right, you're going to see the amount of expenses if you buy all these optional upgrades besides the aircraft workshop, which I would say is mandatory. It goes all the way up to $5.67 million for the most expensive hangar in the game. And if you were to do the same for airport, it would only be $3.48 million. So it really depends on a lot of factors. Also, if you buy the military base one, you'll be able to access the military base, which I don't really think I have to explain why that's a benefit in itself. You'll be able to steal free lasers and buzzards and tanks whenever you want, and access to the base overall. So that's a very high beneficial feature. And the reason why buying the airport is beneficial is because you'll be able to spawn in it and spawn a lot more aircraft and so on with inside of it. Quickly, one thing I do want to go over before we get into the source missions is that this business entirely is dependent on players and is a team business. Why do I say that? Well, it's pretty simple, because the amount of players that you have inside of your organization will determine how many crates you get. So if you're solo, you're only going to be getting 1 crate regardless if you get a vehicle or you get a drop. You will always be getting 1 crate. And if you get 4 players, you'll be getting 4 crates per mission, but the cooldown in between the missions is going to be highly increased. The other thing, you can actually destroy all the vehicles inside the source missions and then just pick up the crates individually if you so choose. Another thing is that when you get on top of your hangar with an aircraft while carrying a crate, you can just press right on the D-pad and drop it on top of the hangar so you don't actually have to go inside it. That is another very useful tip. I'm also going to be generally assuming that you're going to be getting either narcotics, chemicals, or medical supplies as the products you're going to be stealing for your hangar, because these 3 are the best. The reason is because you get a 70% increase on top of your sale, but the only way to get this bonus is that you either have to fill your warehouse completely with 50 crates, because that's how much your hangar holds, 50 crates of narcotics, 50 crates of chemicals, or 50 crates of medical supplies. It has to be one of those products completely. Also, one more thing to keep in mind, although this is not very useful to you, but it is useful to know, so that if you know that there are players after you, you'll know why. Players are actually able to steal your cargo and put them inside of their own hangar, so keep an eye out for this. Also, if you want to steal somebody else's cargo, you can also do so, but the problem with this is that you don't know what cargo your enemy is stealing. So that's one thing to keep in mind and why it's not really that worth it. But that you do have the option to steal crates from other players if you choose to do so. Just thought I'd mention that. And now we're going to be moving on to the hangar source missions, then the sell missions, and then I'm going to be explaining all the values and stuff, and then we can wrap up the video. The first source mission is going to be the hotel roof source mission. You're going to be required to go to a point and then get on top of a roof of a building and then break certain crates while trying to kill enemies to find your cargo. Do keep in mind that with all these hangar source missions, the game actually gives you aircraft that you can use during the mission. So if you actually bought this business and you don't actually have any aircraft, don't worry. The game does give you mostly all aircraft in most of these source missions anyways, so if you don't have an aircraft, it's no biggie, but I would try to buy one as soon as possible if you don't own a personal one. This next source mission is the Tula water salvage mission. You'll be required to use a Tula seaplane to be able to go to a salvage site, and then you're going to have to kill all the enemies. Just do what I do, land the VTOL aircraft on land, and then just simply kill all the enemies with some type of weapon like a sniper or explosive. And then once all the boats, like the small ones, are blown up, the cargo bob, that kind of thing, then you can go over there, use the aircraft's bombs with the bomb bay, destroy the big tugboats, then land it on the water as you can see here. Then just simply swim down to the bottom and then just grab your crate and then just use the VTOL or JTOL boost to be able to take off quicker, and then you can just drop it on top of your hangar inside the aircraft. Very simple. The next source mission is the stunt plane one. This one isn't too hard, but you have to actually be able to pull off the stunts most of the time. But there is one cool little hack with this mission. If you actually stay completely upside down for most of the mission while doing these stunts, you'll actually gain the popularity with inside the mission a lot faster, so then you can actually get the location of the crates. Then once the popularity bar is filled, then you can just simply bring it back to the warehouse, drop it on top of the hangar, and you're done. This next source mission will require you to go to a Nakota or another weaponized aircraft that you own and dogfight Merryweather jets flying around the area. Then you're just going to have to simply blow up every single Merryweather jet until your cargo is revealed in one of them. Keep in mind that if you're doing this with 4 people, there's going to be 4 jets that are going to have to be blown up, and if you blow up the original swarm of jets, don't worry if the crates don't spawn. The game will keep spawning more swarms until your crates are given to you. This is a very straightforward source mission for the hangar, the helicopter crash one. You just simply go to an area, you look for a crashed Maverick, and then you're going to look for the crate next to like a half-dead guy with a pistol. Then you just simply take it back to the hangar. Very simple. This one I'm not going to go over very long. This one is the Titan Escort mission. Same with the last few ones where I said there were certain missions you want to avoid. This is the same one. You want to avoid this mission at all costs, not because it's hard, but because of the fact that it just wastes your time. So just go to your pause menu and then just restart another invite only or crew session. This next mission is very similar to the last Nakota dogfight one, but this is the Molotov one. You simply use the Molotov the game has given you or use a weaponized aircraft, and then you're going to have to intercept 3 cargo planes with jet escorts, and then you're going to have to kill all the jets and avoid the jets while you're trying to blow up the cargo planes. One of your cargo planes will have all your crates inside of it. Once you've destroyed the cargo plane that has your crates, you can simply pick them up in the air, as you're going to see in the gameplay. Very easy, very simple, and then you just bring it back to the warehouse. The next source mission is the Sea Breeze bombing one. You don't really need to even use this one if you have a hangar at Fort Zancudo or if you own a Hydra. Just spawn a Hydra or take one of the Fort Zancudo lasers and then just go use the cannons on these jets to blow up all the bombing targets. One of these targets will have your crates, and if you're doing this with 4 players, 4 of the targets will have the crates separately, so keep this in mind. And then once you find the crates, you just pick it up and bring it back to the warehouse. Very simple. This next one is very similar to the last one. This is the base bombing one with the Starling that has infinite bombs. But if you have a laser or a Hydra, or if you have a Fort Zancudo hangar with the lasers, you can just steal that and then just use those to actually blow up all the base entirely. Then that way you don't actually have to waste your time trying to bomb if you're not used to bombing in this game. It's very quick, very simple. As you can see in the gameplay, I'm using my personal laser to clear out the area as quick as possible. You can also try to land your jet next to the aircraft once it gives you the source mission location for the cargo, but I was unable to because my jet got damaged. So I just simply took the aircraft back. This time it was a flogger, and then I just flew it back to the hangar. Very simple. This next source mission is the airstrip theft mission. Basically, you'll be required to either go to Mackenzie Airfield and steal a Rogue, or go to Sandy Shores Airfield and steal a Pyro. Regardless of which one you get, there will be an aircraft inside those hangars with your cargo, either the Rogue or the Pyro. You have the choice to either destroy the aircraft and take the crate out of the aircraft back to the hangar in your own special vehicle, or you can take the aircraft back to the hangar with the crate already inside it. Very simple, very straightforward. This next one is definitely one of the harder ones, but as long as you're patient and take your time and you have a silenced weapon in your loadout, you should be fine. This one is the prison or the Humane Labs raid with the cargo bob. This one you'll physically be required to use this aircraft, and any other aircraft with a blue blimp that tells you to get inside of it, by the way, you have to get inside that aircraft or blow it up. This one you have to use because if you don't use it, the guards will be alerted the moment you try to fly in the prison or the labs without it. So keep that in mind. You have to use this aircraft. Then I'm just using 2 times speed here to get up to the point. A lot of people, when they start this mission, they don't know where exactly to go with the cargo bob. You have to go really high up to the air to this checkpoint, and then the aircraft will go autopilot. You'll have to parachute down to a specific point within the facility that you're trying to infiltrate. Then you'll have to kill all the guards before getting to the van with the cargo inside. Just follow what I'm doing in the gameplay if you get the prison one. The prison one is actually very simple. It's very hard to fail this one, but if you get the Humane Labs one, you'll have to find a different video to be able to template that one. So it's very simple. Just take your time. Don't rush things, and if you have to kill 2 guards staring at each other, take your time and do it when you feel like you can actually confidently kill them. Do not try to rush this, because if you try to rush stealth missions like this, you're going to fail and you're going to get caught and you're going to have to deal with all the enemies chasing after you. Also, one quick little tip with this mission, you will always get a SWAT truck if you get the prison one, and this truck can take multiple sticky bombs, and it's already armored enough from the mission. So if you want to blow this one up, just simply spam RPGs at it like I am doing in the gameplay, because if you use sticky bombs, it's going to take too long, and then as you can see, it'll blow up much faster if you use that. Then you just fly it back to the hangar. And finally, the last SOAR mission that I was able to get is the Hunter Jammers mission. This one will require you to get inside of a hunter and go around destroying specific jammers to reveal the location of your cargo. Again, you do not have to use this hunter if you don't want to, but if you don't have any weaponized aircraft like Hydras or anything, you kind of have to use this. But if you don't have a Hydra or something like that, you can avoid using this entirely, because hitting the barrage missiles on some of these jammer locations, as you can see, is a little bit hard, especially if you don't know what you're doing. And another thing, with that barricade truck that's carrying the cargo, you need to get close to it before you can blow it up, otherwise it won't take any damage, and then you just take it back to the hangar. Very simple. Now we're going to be talking about 5 individual cell missions, because I was not able to get all of them. The first one is the Hunter cell mission. This one will require you to go to 5 different drops with a bunch of enemies around the cell point. You'll have to first destroy all the enemies near the cell point with the homing missiles, and then you can actually do your drop. Another thing to keep in mind when you're doing these cell missions, let's just say, for example, if someone's trying to steal your cargo, they can't. They only can destroy it at this point, so if they destroy your aircraft while you're doing a cell mission, your crates will not respawn like in the source missions, and people will be able to steal it, or you'll be able to steal it back. If your cargo vehicles blow up in these cell missions, you will lose your crates. It's not like source, so keep this in mind. Protect your aircraft as much as possible. Something that I also forgot to mention but is also useful to know for this mission, the Hunter and the Sea Breeze mission, you will get 3 aircraft to manage if you're in a full hangar. This one will require you to go to 4 to 5 different drops, and then you're going to have to drop the crates and watch out for enemy rogues trying to intercept you. Basically, if you just stay behind the rogues the entire time during the cell mission and you don't try to do risky maneuvers, you should be able to just do the mission completely fine. The next cell mission is the 2 to 4 drop cargo bob cell mission. This one will require you to go over to 2 different cargo bobs if full, and 1 if it's solo filled. And basically, you're going to have to go over to the cargo bob and pick up 2 to 4 crates depending on how many cargo bobs if you had. If you have 1, you're only going to have 2 crates you're going to have to pick up with the cargo bob. If you have 2, it's going to be 4 crates. Then you simply pick up the crate and then you bring it over to the truck, and then you initiate the cutscene by pressing right on the D-pad, and then you go back for the other one, do the same thing, deliver it to that truck, and then you're done. Very simple. This next cell mission I would highly recommend avoiding if you're solo, even though I believe that you're not supposed to be able to even get this cell mission solo. This is the Mogul Police cell mission, 5 drop mission. Basically, you're going to be required to do 5 different drops while having MAs like police chase after you. The reason why this one you need multiple players is because if you don't have someone manning the gun on top of the Mogul to shoot down these helicopters, you're going to have your aircraft die extremely quickly, and as you can see in the gameplay, I had to jump out of my aircraft. The last cell mission that I was able to get during recording was the Alpha Z1 5 drop mission. Basically, this mission requires you to go close to the ground and do 5 fragile drops near the ground. Very simple, you just go to the 5 drops and then the mission's done. This one will also give you 3 aircraft if you're full, so keep this one in mind. Now we're going to be going over the values of the separate crates with 1 to 4 players, and then I'm going to be explaining how much the hangar gives you without an actual crate bonus, and then with the actual crate bonus of narcotics, chemicals, or medical. First things first, 1 crate for 1 player is $30,000, and as you can see with each player added, that actually adds another $30,000. At max, you'll get a value of $120,000 for 4 crates each. And then a full hangar with no bonuses is $1.5 million because remember, during the Drug Wars update, they permanently tripled hangars' overall sell value completely. And the other thing, the 4-minute wait is for the 1 crates, and it's a 7-minute wait for 4 players if you're doing narcotics, chemicals, or medical. So you're going to have to find something else to do in the meantime. And finally, the narcotics, chemical, and medical 70% bonus adds up to $2.55 million as the full maximum amount you can get during a sale without the 2% increase for each player in the lobby. That means that depending on how much you spent on a hangar and if you bought the most expensive or the most cheap, it'll be from 1 to 3 full sales of narcotics, chemicals, or medical with that 70% bonus, not including the 2% bonus from the players. So keep this in mind. You can actually break even with this business very quickly if you do 3 full sell missions of narcotics, chemicals, or medical. So keep this in mind. I would at least sell this business full twice or maybe 3 times with those products only. And then after that, if you want to fill this hangar solo, what I do is just go to narcotics and then do chemicals, and then I just back and forth that so I don't have to wait for the cooldowns during solo. And then once one of them has reached 25 and the other one's at 24, I do the one that's 24, so I can have 25 of that product, and then I sell the other one that was already completed at 25, so then I can fill the other 25 crate slots that were just emptied of chemicals, let's say, and fill them up back with narcotics. That way I can fill my warehouse to half a lot faster in between. You can also do variants of different products, and you can actually source crates a lot faster doing that, but keep in mind, you're not going to get any of those hanger bonuses, so it's good to keep in mind the amount of money you're going to make with a hanger without those bonuses. You'll make 1.5 million. So generally, it's not a great business solo, but there are ways to micromanage it so you can make it solo. And because of that, I think it's much more worth it to do solo now than it's ever been. So I would highly recommend checking out Hangar if you haven't already, especially because doing a lot of these source missions gets you discounts on those aircraft that you can customize in your aircraft workshop. So highly recommend this business, personally, in my opinion. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it for the video on is import-export, CEO crates, and Hangar worth it in 2023. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell. Also check the top card at the top right of the screen so you don't miss future past and present videos on the channel. I am Tron Ninja, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace, guys.